Hey everybody, good morning. Oh no, it's afternoon. See, I'm lost on time. It's Wednesday, April 25th. I'm here with my friend and fraternity brother, Commissioner Robert Stuart. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let us know you can hear us or see us. We're in a... Look, he looks good,
Is that
right?
better? Is that good?
No, you're tall. Look.
I'm so far away. I look like my head looks small.
Oh, you should see. Sometimes I have it looks like my head. Somebody's coming out of here. Rebecca's on. So Rebecca, give us a thumbs up. It's Administrative Assistant Day here at the club, and I guess everywhere. So we are relegated to what I affectionately call the orange shower curtain rooms. And so I want to make sure you can hear us and see us. So give us a thumbs up and let us know. Because I really want to hear what Robert has to say today. Hey, Jose, what's up? Okay, so he can obviously hear us. So welcome. So we want to give a little background on you before we dig in, and I appreciate you taking time out. I know you're busy. Hey, Alice Weinberg, thank you. Tyler, hey guys. See, that's what I love about Facebook Live. It's like having an audience here, immediate feedback. Apparently, I need immediate feedback to make me feel better about myself every day. I'm kidding. So give us a little background on you. You're an Orlando guy. We can talk about you being a commissioner, but we have a lot to talk about. Leadership, service, and the Love Pantry is what we're going to cover today. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right, give them a little background on you, even though they have a bio somewhere.
Yeah, well, I'm born and raised in Orlando here. Born in College Park, raised in College Park, went to Princeton and to Lee and to Edgewater. Went off to the University of Florida, came back here to work with my father's company. Joined the Sigma Chi fraternity.
Sigma Chi.
And was involved in that a great deal. Came back here, worked for our family business for about 15 years until the Office Depots of the world put us
That's
out
right.
of business.
You had like a office supply business. I forgot about that.
Check with George Stewart.
Yes.
And that was our family business, our dad's business.
I forgot all about that.
And we all stepped in. My dad passed away in '76, and we all stepped in to kind of help be part of that. And then the Office Depots of the world put us out of business. And so the next thing we did was we began looking for a career. And so I ended up moving around and
you chose politics.
Well, no, I actually chose ministry first. I became the executive director of the Christian Service Center.
Yes.
In 1995, a few years after that, and I've had a chance to serve there in the work that we do there. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then about 12 years ago, decided to run for city council.
What was your thought process there? Had you all been involved in politics as a family prior?
George was elected in 1972. Right, 72, as the youngest city commissioner ever elected in the history of Orlando.
Wow.
Elected at the age of 24, 25. I cast my very first vote as a voting member of our society for my brother.
So what was his? What was his? We'll just have to bring George on. I know him. He's such a lovely man too. What was your thought process? If he just decided at 24, I mean, most 24-year-olds aren't thinking about a career in politics or thinking for running for office.
Well, he had leadership all along. He had gone to the University of Florida, went to Harvard, graduated at Harvard, came back here, and really felt like he wanted to get engaged. He served in the city for 6 years, became a state senator, served there for 12 years, ran for governor, and eventually ended up moving, ran for the insurance commissioner. And that's where I worked with him. I actually worked with him on the statewide campaign in 1990 and 1992.
I wasn't born yet.
Thanks.
I'm kidding. You also had, which I don't know if the Sigma Chi's who are watching know, but you helped install our Ada Pi chapter here.
Yeah, right.
You were talking about Hartman and all those guys, and of course they were not old when I came in, but they were the older brothers and older alumni. And how cool is that? What a great part of our Sigma Chi history here.
George joined Sigma Chi in 1964. Jacob joined a couple years later. Charlie after that. I joined after that. George and Jacob and I all became consuls, presidents of the fraternity. 30 years to the day after I joined the fraternity, my son joined the same chapter, and 30 years to the day after I became consul, my son became consul.
Very cool.
My son-in-law, future son-in-law, was Sigma Chi at Clemson, and he became consul, president there. And then I've got a couple others that are mixed in, so it's all kind of in our blood. And it's strangely enough, as you would say, there's a lot of things you learn at college, and they kind of come back to you later on.
Absolutely.
Especially things that you learn in terms of our ritual and the things that we stand for.
Right. I learned so much. I mean, my education was great, don't get me wrong, but I learned more from being a Sigma Chi, being Greek, being involved on campus than I learned from any of my classes. No offense to the education system, but I think when you're learning that, that's a very important time in your life. All of your stuff's you're challenging your thought process, you're learning a whole bunch of new things. And so having Sigma Chi and having UCF really life-changing for me.
Well, and UCF Sigma Chi chapter was so different than ours, especially when we initiated them. And they became much more in terms of the structure that they're doing, and they built a house, and it looked a lot more like the normal fraternity house. But as a young university, they didn't have a Greek system.
Right.
And you kind of lived off campus, and we up in Florida were envious of that because we wanted to be like them.
Right.
They were envious, they wanted to be like us, and it was a wonderful thing. But I had a chance to come down and do the initiation, part of the initiation for the chapter.
It's awesome.
And so it's always been kind of close to me.
Me too.
But you're right, you learn more. I think the reason why I like the Greek system, and it's not just the Greek system, but other outside activities in college, is you learn skills that you get a chance to exhibit. I love Florida because I went there at the time. There were 15, 16,000 students. Nobody knew me.
Right.
I got a chance to do kind of what I want and see where my skills were. In our house, we ran a business that was 200 members strong. We ran a food service business. We ran a house. And when you leave, you end up learning leadership. You learn how to deal with people. You learn a committee structure. You learn a nonprofit structure. And all that's kind of built in, and you learn it inherently.
You do.
And it's really kind of a nice way to.
It really has been a beautiful thing. I have. I feel a lot of my friends who are not or who weren't Greek, I don't think they had that experience unless they were in. There's other things to do other than being Greek. I was super involved on campus as well. But all of those outside activities, like you said, it helped mold me. Even at that age, I thought it still is incredibly important. And when I run into people from there, we have a connection that I don't have with anybody else. That was a very special time when you're in college. And you build all these amazing relationships. Back in that day, it wasn't covered wagons, I promise.
You're right.
So how did you get into ministry? What was the family business? The family business goes away because of Office Depot, and then you have to make a choice. So ministry is your choice.
I got involved first with a group that came in town that ran an evangelistic outreach called John Guest. I ran that for 2 years and had a chance to work with pastors throughout all of Central Florida. And then from there I went to work with a volunteer friend of ours who ran a business. He was an ATO. I have to tease him, but he didn't accept the bid at University of Florida, but he and I are longtime friends. But while I was there, I was also serving on the board of directors of the Christian Service Center.
Okay.
And so what they did was I became president-elect. We moved our executive director out. They asked me if I would take on the role of being executive director, and I just said no. I don't want to do this. Eventually, I figured I'd do it for 2 or 3 years, and now I've been there now 23 years.
There's a calling on your life, right?
And I do love it. I mean, I have the benefit of having what I say. I have a vocation and an avocation, and I have the best of both. And that is, I get a chance to serve through the Christian Service Center and to serve to our citizens in Orlando. So it's really a wonderful.
You do. That's actually a great analogy, a great comparison. So tell them about Christian Service Center, what it does, because I want to talk about that and Love Pantry, because that's really what we originally talked about. We want the focus to be, and there's a reason for that. Yeah. But I think people are also curious about your public service. So tell them a little bit about Christian Service Center.
Well, the center starts in 1971, and the short story is it starts really in '65 when Walt Disney decides to open up Walt Disney World. And by the time '68 rolls around and they start doing construction, the world is coming to Orlando, Florida. And we didn't have a social service system here to help those that were in need. And the only system we had was our churches.
Right.
And so what they would do is they would migrate to the largest churches. Those tended to be downtown, and our downtown churches began to talk to one another. And they began to put together an emergency system to help them. And so that started in 1971, and we opened up about 4 months prior to Walt Disney World. The sidebar story is, in terms of all the work I've done, I found that my father was a founder of that.
No way.
Which is really cool.
That's
my dad
cool.
was on the board of directors at YMCA. Charlie served there. My dad was on the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce. Jacob served there. My dad was a founder of the Citrus Bowl. My nieces and my nephews have served there, and he was one of the founders of the Orlando Union Rescue Mission.
Wow!
And all that kind of growing up because Dad was that kind of involved and engaged, which is kind of where we got it all.
Sure. Well, that makes more sense. You had that. I always ask people, like, what's your why? What was there an epiphany when you were young? But it sounds like your family, you were raised in it. Service was part of your family life and part of your belief system growing up.
And we were dragged, I think you'll call it that, to so many benefit circuses back then and benefit events that we went to. It kind of just becomes part of what you do.
Sure.
And we love it. I mean, it's part of just the way we grew up. And so you want to give back. Dad always taught that if you're going to live in a community, you're going to have to give back. Lyndon Allen said it best from SunTrust: build your community and you build your bank. And Lyndon Allen was the original president of the First Orlando National, now called SunTrust.
Right.
So that's all kind of happening in this, and so we wanted to do more in the Christian Service Center. So we started emergency services, and began all kinds of programs. We've started programs. We've birthed programs. We birthed Meals on Wheels here in Orlando.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
The center birthed a program called Alzheimer's Respite Care, now called Share the Care. We have birthed all kinds of organizations because our job is to do the ministry until it can be done by itself. And so we started a new program a few years ago under my direction called the Love Pantry.
Right.
And the whole goal of the Love Pantry was to provide pantry items for kids in school so they could take them home. Started with the crazy idea that kids are hungry in school, and the other crazy idea that teachers know more about what their needs are than I ever would. And so if I could get the food to the school, teachers wouldn't have to feel like they had to go to the grocery store to go buy food.
Correct.
And so we did that.
Isn't that amazing that that's a problem, though? I mean, it's sad. I know it's a reality, but I think a lot of people hear that and they think, God, it's just so far removed from their life, and they don't realize that it really is. Those kids are starving. They're hungry. And sometimes the only meal they get is the one at school.
Orange County school system has 68% free and reduced breakfast and lunch, which means they're serving 135,000 meals a day to kids. And so we figured out that there are guys that needed to take food home, and we know that teachers were buying it for them. Right. And then we felt that was to me that was not right, because I know there's food in this town, because that's what we do at the center. And so how do we make those two come together? So we raised some money. Got some money from First Baptist Church as a pilot program. Started with 10 schools. The next semester grew to 30. The next semester grew to 40. The next semester grew to 50. And now we're averaging about 70 schools a year. We do about 110,000 meals in our school system. And all we do is provide food for them to take home and take care of their needs as an emergency assistance. So the idea is that we want them to know there are other services that are available, but this is our emergency need. And how do we address that? And we have, we've got done now 7 years. We've got stories that just are heartbreaking and very rewarding at the same time.
Well, I mean, you're coming up on the end of school, right. And so one of the reasons why I know you reached out and we were talking is because that's actually, you wouldn't think it is, but if you think about it and explain the logic, that's a critical time to make sure that you have the Love Pantry filled.
Yeah. Well, we're looking for support for the community, so I appreciate the opportunity to do this. But the key thing is that when kids are in school and they're on free and reduced breakfast and lunch, they get a meal. Right. So they'll get breakfast, they'll get lunch. If they stay after school, they may get a snack. The kid's taken care of. It's the family that has the challenge. So how do you make the family, how do you get the food to the family? This is our way to do that. But you come up on Thanksgiving and you're off a week. The family has no way to get food. Right. You come off on Christmas, on spring break, or summer break, and there's no way for this short amount of time that this food's available. So we stock up. We put our food back out in the pantries. We beg our students our schools to empty the pantries for us and make sure that people are taking food home. School will be out for a week. These kids will be able to come back to summer school and be able to get food during the summer school. But that week-long time, like Thanksgiving, what are they going to do during Thanksgiving?
Right.
So we want to make sure that they're cared for. And so people don't understand. I say this kindly. Some people perceive that we're bleeding heart liberals. Our job is to use this food to get them services that they need.
Correct.
So we connect them to our other services that we offer, to other agencies like Harbor House, we talked about that earlier,
Right.
to Legal Aid Society, to other agencies like Salvation Army or Rescue Mission. And we also connect them to other services that may be available near them somehow to make sure that they don't have to become dependent on the school system. So our job is to use this as an opportunity to engage them in other services.
You're a conduit for them. You're
Exactly.
a conduit for
Exactly.
getting them out to the services. But the food is critical because honestly, yeah, I mean, we just don't think about that because most of us have a roof over our heads and we have the food and we don't think about how that would impact them if they're out for a week. That's huge because they're missing 2 meals that they normally would have gotten. And I know that there's this interesting stigma that goes along with taking food and getting food, which is why you said, I love the fact you're right, the teachers know best. The teachers know their kids, they know what they're suffering through. The kids are pretty open about that when they have a relationship with their teacher. And so instead of trying to figure out what the need is, you're going to the people who know what the need is best.
And the key here is this, that food's available for them. The teacher will see a child who's not performing well, they get in the morning, they didn't get there for breakfast that morning. Inside each cabinet is 27 categories of items. Some are ready-to-eat items, some are canned food to take home, some are cereal. And in addition to that, some are hygiene.
Right.
We have some kids who need hygiene items, toothbrushes, whatever else it may be, all designed not to be able to satisfy their need forever. It's designed to, what's your emergency?
Right.
Our hope is we can get the teachers and the guidance counselors to talk about what the need of the family is without having food to be part of it.
Correct.
And if we can do that, they can get to an agency like ours where we can help them with food stamps and other things that go on. They won't become dependent upon the school. And then we use the school as this emergency way to connect, which is what we have been doing for 47 years.
So what can people do, before we move on to public service, what can people do to get involved? What is the best way for people to reach out? Obviously, you want food items, you want money, but how do they engage you? You have volunteer needs?
Well, in this particular program, we have 3 programs. So in this particular program, we have a need for volunteer drivers. We do it kind of like Meals on Wheels. We make it cheap by using volunteer drivers to deliver food to each school. We have people at the schools that will help set up each cabinet. We teach them how to accomplish that task. So I need volunteers. I need money. We buy the food. We buy it through our partnership with Second Harvest Food Bank. But while we don't take food directly, we buy food because it only fits into a cabinet. We have a 36-inch wide, 72-inch high cabinet. It's got 367 items in there. And so the idea is that it's got to fit in there. Don't just give me corn. I need 15.5-ounce Del Monte corn.
Right.
Because that's the only slot I've got for corn.
Right.
So we ask for money to accomplish that, and we do that. And then the last is to tell your friends about it. We want people to be engaged in what we do, and this is a great way to accomplish that task. And so between the work of the Christian Service Center and the Family and Emergency Services and that Love Pantry and our other program, the Daily Bread, where we do a noontime soup kitchen where we serve about 450 meals a day.
That's unbelievable.
Those 3 things really hit those that most at risk in our community. So how do we teach them how to fish?
Right.
And so we attract them with the fish and then teach them how to become more efficient in our community.
All right, so I'll post all that later. We're not going to end this show right now. I have to look at my time. We have plenty of time, but we'll post all of the Christian Service Center information. I put it when I posted the video a few minutes ago, but I definitely want to share that. I want them to be able to reach out to you and have a better understanding of how to get involved. That's an amazing organization. See, these are the great things about having these shows, is even I learn every single day about an organization, a person, a mission that I'm not familiar with, or I've heard of, but I don't exactly know how to get involved, what the impact they have, who they serve. And I feel like you guys coming on and sharing, it's just so important. I do too.
Before we get off, ChristianServiceCenter.org. All the information is there.
Okay, and I'll share that again. All right, so talk about public service. So ministry first, and you have been a commissioner for how long?
12 years.
12 years.
12 years. Just got elected for my 4th term.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
What district are you for?
District 3.
Oh, District 3. See, I don't do the research. I should know this by heart, but I don't.
It's on the bio. I wish you would.
Yeah, I should have done that. Ooh,
I ran. Our district is primarily most everything north of Highway 50, with the exception of Colonial Town and the Mercy Drive area. So I cover everything from Rosemont all the way to Baldwin Park, and kind of everything in between. So I've got, I call it the Park District. I've got College Park, Baldwin Park, I've got Park Lake, the Rosemont area, about 42,000 people in our area.
So what's the biggest Ted needs a producer? Yes, I do, John. I've talked about this. We were talking about it earlier. I need a producer. Actually, Rob...
And a director.
Commissioner Stuart here was and a director. He was kind enough to help set up the camera, but we've got somebody who's incredibly loud today, but we have a lot of loud people here, so just bear with me. But talk about what are some of the predominant issues, some of the things that are challenges or positives that are going on. I like the positives better myself. So what are some of the cool stuff that's going on in District 3? I got it right. Because there's always so much building and growth going on in our community, and that's one of the reasons I love our city. So share some of that stuff with us.
Well, District 3 contains part of the downtown. It's about 25% of the downtown core. So what's going on downtown affects us. We're seeing a growth in apartments. We're seeing a growth in infill, which is probably where cities ought to grow, candidly.
What is it? Infill?
Infill.
What is infill?
Infill really is going back and looking at what's happening in our downtown corridor and putting more people in there. When Mayor Dyer started 13, 14 years ago, there was less than 3,000 people that lived in the downtown corridor. Now there's almost 22,000. And the reason for that is that we now have things to do and people want to live down here.
Right.
So I've got the area just north of Colonial, so I've got Nora, I've got several areas that are right there just north of, between Magnolia and Orange Avenue, just north of Colonial. So that's important. So you're going to see that infill. We have some other infill that's happening in downtown College Park. The new Princeton project is getting ready to come online in downtown Ivanhoe Village. We have our new yard is coming out of the ground now. We have another group called Broadstone that's going to happen over there. When we get through, there'll be about 1,000 apartments in an area that I think can absorb that. Much like our younger population, that's where they want to live.
Right. Well, I feel like there's a demand for that, right? And so I think I'm sure you hear a lot of people who want to raise issue with apartments and how does that impact our schools and our taxes and how does that all play in. But honestly, if you talk to anybody under the age of me, you will find that a lot of them want that downtown living. And I think the city as a whole has done a fantastic job at re-identifying some of the areas. Like when we were growing up in Orlando, there wasn't a Soto or a Milk District or God, they have all sorts of Mills 50. And I love the fact that we've created the neighborhoods around that and then really built that up. So it's a destination.
Right.
Then you have all people that want to live around that.
Well, that leads me to the next thing, is that one of the things that's really strengthened us is this Main Street program. So the things that you've identified, Soto and Mills 50, Ivanhoe Village, College Park, Audubon Garden District, those are all they haven't happened by accident. We place money into those neighborhoods because we want those neighborhoods to have their own identity within Orlando. And if you do that and you attract people there, you have commercial, you have development there, and you create kind of these small areas. When I was in Chicago, before I ran for office, I remember going to the Sears Tower and looking at the Sears Tower with a friend of mine who used to do Chicago-type architecture tours. And I looked out and I said, hey, what are all those little spaces? And what you would see is you see flat land, and then you'd see a little bit of a kind of a downtown all over. And he goes, well, those are different communities. And I said, that one over there is Hillsdale. I said, well, what's Hillsdale? That's where I grew up. And from the Sears Tower, you see these places where people have a place to go for their own neighborhood, and then also know there's a great downtown in Chicago. And I thought to myself, Orlando can become that.
Absolutely.
And all we have to do is do it at the growth and the rate that we can do it at,
right?
And to make that happen. So I'm excited about that.
I'm excited. I love the fact that we have those areas, because what it's done is you have all the restaurants coming in, businesses coming in. The fact that we call it the Milk District, I'm not sure half the people understand why we call it the Milk District, but just look at that little cow at the top of the old T.G. Lee building.
Exactly.
That's really where it all came from, but I love that. I think it helps identify the area, and then it becomes a real point of reference and a place where people want to go.
Well, remember, I've been in town long enough to remember when Colonial Plaza was there.
I thought you were going to say Colonial Times.
Now it's called Colonial Village. And I remember when Colonial Plaza was built, and it's built on T.G. Lee's old pasture.
That's right. You know, I miss Ronnie's from there.
Oh, I know.
Oh, man, there's just nothing
I got some
like
great
Ronnie's.
stories about that. We'll come back.
We'll have to come back and talk about that. Because when you talk about Ronnie, that was one of my favorite places. But growing up, everybody knew it. It was where Colonial Plaza...
That's where everybody went.
That's where everybody went.
Yeah.
They had the best soups. What is something that you'd like them to know, like that they don't understand about being a commissioner? Because I'm sure you get phone calls. I'm sure you get people asking you crazy questions. And he's such a good guy that he's going to make it sound nice. But I'm just curious because I think a lot of people don't understand. We had a little conversation earlier about civics, and I think people don't understand because we don't really teach it anymore as much as we should. People don't understand what the roles are and how that works. And so, is there a way to better educate them? Is there something you'd like them to know that you can and you can't do?
Yeah.
Share with them, because I think a lot of people are like, wow, you've got Commissioner Stuart on, you've had the mayor on, you've had people running for office, but they don't want to ask the questions because I think a lot of people, because they're not educated, they feel stupid or they feel like, wow, I don't want to ask that question, I really don't know it. So share anything you want with them about
Well, I spend a great deal of time doing education as part of what I do in terms of the people I deal with, especially in terms of the neighborhoods. Now, the role of a commissioner in our city is that as a legislative role, which is there's 7 commissioners because the mayor's considered the commissioner as chair, the role of advocacy for our community, and the role really of policy. So we have those kind of roles. That's what I do. Most people confuse that role with managerial, and that's the hardest part that I have to play. In the city of Orlando, those people don't work for me.
Right.
And in the city of Orlando, my job is to advocate for the constituent and to make sure that we're moving forward as we can in terms of legislation. So the idea of somebody saying, go tell the police chief to go do something is crazy to me. He works for the mayor of Orlando. I'd never do that. I would ask the police chief, and I would ask him what resources he needs, and let me go help find those resources to accomplish that task, because that's important as an advocacy role. So oftentimes people ask for things I cannot do. The other thing is we have many jurisdictions around our community. So there's the Orlando city, and then there's the Orlando area. And many people live in the Orlando area and have a great deal of ownership to our city.
They do.
And I love that.
Me too.
But the jurisdictional side is they want me to go and do stuff at their home, and their home is not actually inside the city limits. And so it becomes this, you need to understand kind of where you are and then what role you play. The city has a role, I believe, as we're a flagship for 84 cities in our community. We're an identifier for the Orlando area. It's not called the Orange County area, it's called the Orlando area. So we're that identifier. We own that responsibility, and it's a great responsibility. I'm looking at your website and what occurred at the Pulse. And what we did to bring the community together is an identifier of what we do and the very best of what we can do in bringing people together. But at the same time, the small details you run into may not actually be, if it's sewer or if it's power or if it's police protection, you may not actually be in the city limits.
Correct.
And so the idea is to come to you. I remember somebody who announced they were going to run against me 2 sessions ago. He was running for Orlando District 3. What he actually did was he actually lived in Orange County District 3. Which is in the southeast portion. So he came running down to sign up to run, and we said, where do you live? And he said, we live here. I said, you don't even live inside the city.
Wow.
And you actually live near City of Orlando District 4 and District 2, and District 3 is up here. And all of a sudden it's like, and so civics is an important part of that role.
And I think also we have a unique, and then we'll wrap it up, we have a unique situation here. I feel like we have an Orange County mayor and a whole set of commissioners, and we have a city mayor and all sorts of 6 other commissioners other than the mayor. And so I think people get confused. I understand why they do. Not somebody running for office, but I think that as a citizen, it's confusing. Who's responsible? You don't really know until you kind of learn. You have to learn. So
that's probably the hardest thing I do, is to help educate them as to where we can help solve their problem.
Right.
And I want to advocate for. If they live in the city, I want to advocate for them. If they live in the county, I want to find the resources that will solve their
I
problem.
feel like our city, and I'm a lover of Orlando. Everybody who watches the show knows that. I just feel like we really do engage. Like the fact that you kind of stepped down and came to the TED Show today, that means you want to get in touch with the people. You're open to it, and I feel like we do embrace the people. We're very embracing and engaging, and we want people to get involved, and we love the citizens of our city, and I just think it's amazing to have somebody like Commissioner Stuart on. So we're going to share all of his contact information, how to reach him at the city. We'll share the Christian Service Center organization contact information as well. Any parting words of wisdom for them?
No,
Anything
thank you.
to...
Look, I love our community. I'm born and raised here. When I tried to move away, I couldn't, and so I knew that I had a place to be here and to serve, and I'd love spending time with you.
I appreciate you
Thank
so
you
much,
very
Brother Stuart. Thank you guys so much for all the love. And then Commissioner Stuart will respond when he gets a chance. Obviously, there's lots of comments that went up and down. And if you need him, I'll give you all the contact information. Thank you guys. We love you.
Thank you all very much.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.